Well, hello and good morning. It's morning news on Newday from the News Hub at Adisawe here in Accra. I am Anthony Jackson. Coming up in the next 20 minutes. President Akufo-Addo says the strategic document on Ghana Beyond Aid will soon be laid before Parliament. CJ Alaska Mining has been cited for possible prosecution for the damage caused to the Amenase Forest Reserve. Into Nigeria, where our correspondent covering the polls was manhandled by some security details of the opposition candidate Atiku Abubakar. Still in Nigeria, the death toll from an attack last week by gunmen in northwestern Nigeria has doubled to more than 130. Don't forget, we're live on DSTV channel 279. Now, President Akufo-Addo says the strategic document on Ghana Beyond Aid will soon be laid before Parliament. The president was addressing the Ghana Beyond Aid committee after they presented the document as well as a two-page charter at the Jubilee House.
The Ghana Beyond Aid agenda aims at awakening the consciousness of Ghanaians to help develop the country themselves. President Akufo-Addo told the committee the document will help guide the country on how it can inculcate the agenda into Ghanaians.
Clearly, if it is not done on Thursday, it will be done as soon as possible so that Parliament becomes formally seized of the document. It is important that Parliament, which is the main deliberating chamber of our country, is seized of it and also sees that as a document that is going to guide the work of all the institutions of our state, executive, legislature, judiciary, across board, social institutions as well as public ones.
Chairman of the committee, who is also the senior minister, said members of the committee have invested a great deal into the concept of the Ghana Beyond Aid to develop the document as well as the charter.
We also decided ab initio that we'll have a charter out of this strategic document, which will be a two-page document for easy reading, to be displayed in offices and that kind of thing. Whilst the whole document is what we'll look at and implement. Your Excellency, we also said that for a buy-in of the whole country, this document must be laid before Parliament.
Now, the Institute of Energy Security, IES, has blamed the delay in announcing the ECG takeover on the concessionaire Power Distribution Services' refusal to provide a bond guarantee. According to a senior research analyst, Migdad Mohammed, any further delay will not augur well for the deal.
The Millennium Development Authority, MIDA, announced in January that Power Distribution Services was scheduled to take over ECG on February 1, but the deal was postponed.
One of the preconditions, very, very known precondition for the takeover, is the availability of resources for the takeover, the proof that you can raise the money, that the $480 million to take to do the turnarounds, technical, operational, managerial turnarounds that we could have done it ourselves.
He maintained that PDS wants to first take over before raising a bond with ECG's assets.
If government intended to look at the review of tariffs downwards so that consumers, whether residential or industrial users, can have the benefit of low tariffs, government could have best done it from their own taxes in the power structure rather than from the books of ECG, so that ECG wouldn't have to go and buy power at 59 cents and sell it at 42 cents because there's a reduction which has been made with the approval of the PURC, of course, and it means that they are making a loss of 17 cents.
Meralco Consortium won a bidding concession to operate the ECG under the Power Compact 2 with the Millennium Challenge Corporation.
Well, Minister for Transport, Kweku Ofori-Esiama, has indicated a total of 100 bus rapid transits have been earmarked for deployment to the metropolitan assemblies of Sekondi, Takoradi, Kumasi and Tamale for intra-city operations in the regional capitals. This follows the suspension of the Accra pilot program in December due to financial and operational challenges.
The Bus Rapid Transit BRT christened Ayalolo kick-started in 2016 by the ex-Wal Mahama administration. Its operations in Accra on the Amasaman to the corridor was halted in December 2018 due to financial and other challenges.
Unfortunately, the pilot program has been suspended due to financial and operational challenges. Despite cash injection of about 4.5 million, which the ministry has injected, the operation could still not sustain itself to its suspension.
At the Meet the Press series in Accra, the sector minister hinted a total of 100 buses have been earmarked for deployment.
We are taking 20 buses to Sekondi, 20 buses to Tamale, and 60 buses to Kumasi. And I'm happy to announce to you that STMA has gone through the processes. It's almost completed. Tamale Metropolitan Assembly has also done its part, and currently the drivers are being trained at the academy, and we are hoping that by the end of the month the operation of these three areas will start. I think that KMA has put in place a very robust system that can sustain the operation of the BRT system in Kumasi.
On road accidents, Kweku Ofori-Esiama indicated the road traffic regulations are being reviewed.
The National Road Safety Commission is vigorously running 4 major campaigns and also coordinating activities of engineering, enforcement, education, and emergency response institutions aimed at reducing travel speeds, protecting pedestrians on the street, empowering passengers, and compliance with crash helmet wearing.
He added the implementation and enforcement is to help reduce road crashes, which are mostly caused by indiscipline among road users, particularly drivers and motorcycle riders.
Act of excessive speeding, wrongful overtaking, pedestrian knockdowns, and disrespect for traffic signals at intersections by motorcycle riders are the predominant factors contributing to road crashes in the country.
The need for such enforcement is as a result of the 2,341 persons killed and 13,677 persons injured in road accidents.
Now, the representative of the International Monetary Fund, Dr. Albert Mama, has hinted on indicators the IMF team will be looking out for as Ghana exits the Extended Credit Facility Program this year. He was speaking at a roundtable discussion here in Accra on the country's fiscal council.
Dr. Albert Tunamama recounted the situation some 4 years ago when Ghana applied for the IMF Extended Credit Facility to ensure policy credibility.
We had terms like fiscal dominance, double-digit inflation, ballooning wage bill. So when I look at the concept note for the workshop today, again, I had the feeling that we've come a long way, right? I see excerpt like help internalize fiscal discipline, right? Sustain gains of macroeconomic stability.
He observed the job is not completely done, particularly on revenue mobilization.
And when we do this exercise and we look at key macroeconomic variables like economic growth, the overall deficit or inflation, it seems in fact that we've come a long way. All these variables, all these key variables are trending up. It also tells us that certainly the job is not done, right? When we look at the level of debt, when we look at domestic revenue mobilization, when we look at the level of external buffers, we can see that there is probably room to do better.
He said progress has been made as economic indicators are better than 5 years ago.
These are very important terms that it seems that 5 years ago were just aspiration. At the same time, the theme of this workshop also tells us that, again, the job is not done. Yes, by a lot of accounts, Ghana is in a better place. The Public Financial Management Act, the Fiscal Responsibility Law, the Fiscal Council. It's fair to say that Ghana has never been better equipped from an institutional point of view to withstand fiscal slippages around the election.
Dr. Albert Tonamama promised the International Monetary Fund will continue to support Ghana.
Now, CJ Alaska Mining has been cited for possible prosecution for the damage caused to the Amenase Forest Reserve, according to the head of the Interministerial Committee and has destroyed activities. Here's a report by Beatrice Piogabra.
The Amenase Forest Reserve is situated between the boundaries of Upper Wassa Amenfi District and Upper Dentra west of the Central Region. The illegal activities of the mining firm in the reserve is suspected to have started about 7 years ago. The forest has been degraded following the cutting down of trees in their gold mining operations. Deep pits have been left uncovered as some residents take over to prospect for gold. A visit by the Interministerial Committee and Task Force on Illegal Mining to the area revealed some earth-moving machines and other equipment owned to the firm still on site. Leader of the committee, Francis Asibi Abu, questioned how the mining firm could carry out the activities on the blind side of the Forestry Commission.
The Committee for the Illegal Mining would not sit back and watch these things happen. We are the second eye on this particular issue, and we are going to make sure that we will unearth anybody who is linked up with such an activity. We would continue to expose this for every Ghanaian to see what is happening within our forest areas.
He gave a hint that some investigations are ongoing to get the necessary information about persons behind the mining company for possible prosecution for their destruction caused in the forest reserve. The site has been declared a security zone and residents have been warned to desist from gold prospecting in the open pits.
And now the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union has asked government to come up with measures to deal with the depreciation of the cedi against major trading currencies. General Secretary of the union, Solomon Kote, said without any clear-cut policy, the economy would be in disarray. He spoke to our labor correspondent, Daniel Opoku.
The General Secretary of ICU was disturbed about the depreciation of the cedi against the major foreign currencies. Already, some economic experts have expressed varied views on pumping more dollars into the economy to shore up the cedi. But the General Secretary, Solomon Kote, wants government to come up with measures to address the problem.
What could stabilize the cedi is for us to have the manufacturing companies working. When our exports begin to exceed our imports, then we can see the stability of the cedi. But the kind of situation we see around now, in fact, the entire economy is more of ton-a-ton, buy and sell, and those ones you can use it to stabilize the currency.
He again asked government how much it has provided as stimulus packages for companies under the One District, One Factory policy.
He can also spare us by telling us how much of the stimulus package have been doled out, to the existing factories and industry that are looking for help to enable them really actually start. So, for ICU, these are areas that we believe if workers, are well informed about these things, we will appreciate the performance. And in an area, the one phase will go off, another phase will come on, another phase will go off, which is also becoming too intermittent. And therefore, if the state of the nation is anything to go by on this, our part.
The union is hoping the State of the Nation address will also focus on job creation and rebuilding confidence in the banking sector.
Well, let's head over to Nigeria, where TV3's correspondent covering the elections was manhandled by security details of the opposition candidate Atiku Abubakar after the party's emergency national executive meeting in an attempt to quiz out his trump card going into the elections on Saturday. Guards of the former vice president shoved TV3's Komla Kluche off. Don't forget, we're live on DSTV channel 279 and on Facebook, News on TV3. Now, the death toll from an attack last week by gunmen in northwestern Nigeria has doubled to more than 130, the Kaduna State governor said on Tuesday, adding it appeared to have been a deliberate plan to wipe out certain communities. Governor Rafiu said, however, did not elaborate on what he meant. Those killed in last week's attack were mainly from the Fulani ethnic group, who are also usually Muslim and have been involved in clashes in recent years with people from the Adara ethnic group, who are predominantly Christian. Well, that's it for news for this morning. My name is Anthony Jackson. Newday returns shortly after this break.
We're giving you August down.
Welcome. Good morning, man. Good to be here, back on your screens. The weather was cold yesterday.
It was, and February just seems to have a mind of its own this year around because, Johnny, it's raining, you know, cats and dogs in February, and that's not regular.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if that's our sin, so it's just God helping the farmers, because you know when the rains come, farmers benefit, but it also changes their plans because they wouldn't have thought it will rain now, so they'll have to
because now they'll be tilling the dirt and trying to plant and all that.
It's not amusing.
Last week after Valentine's Day, it rained.
It did.
And then today, yesterday,
I'm wondering what we did on Monday to, you know, offend. But anyway,
it's the vigilante thing.
I think so. Yeah, I think
we're washing away.
Let's stop calling them vigilantes now. I think was it Professor Henrietta Mensah yesterday rightly said that you should stop giving them nice names. They are what they are.
Hoodlums and criminals.
They are the militia, private militia, you know, and being paid by political parties, and so that's what they are. Because right now we understand if we know what the English word means, vigilante or vigilant, is to be looking out for things. But now you've moved from looking out for them to actually taking them into and then
the things that must be looked at.
Exactly. So you are, you know, moving away from being vigilantes to becoming militia. And that's what you're doing. And I think it's something we have to all condemn. We can't just be happy with these happenings in Accra, in Ghana, and be there saying, well, because it's a political party and I'm not part of them, whatever happens, it will get to you. It will get close. Yeah. And now the scary thing is they seem to be above the law of the people who even employ them. And so if they can dictate to them what to do and how to go about things, then, Johnny, you and I, dear, hey, we are in trouble. But anyway.
Adani Best sang a song. He said, Oya woja tabi ole.
Yeah.
Oya woja tabi ole. Keda no banai. Jatabi ole.
Decide to read ugly than you. That's what
and we've seen it happen in NPP. We've seen it happen in NDC. You know, it's a wake-up call to all of us. You know,
Interior Minister Ambrose Derry was saying, you know, that at this point where they've seen it on both sides, we'll take the politics out of it and deal with them.
So he was waiting for that?
Obviously, I wouldn't think he was waiting for that, because I'm sure he said that in even the Ayawaso issue, but I'm just saying him re-echoing this piece, because he says he heard Asiedun Ketia speak to what had happened in Ashanti region, and so I think he's just drawing their minds to the fact that if it's happening on both fronts, then it's something that cuts across, and it's not good, because oftentimes that's what they'll wait. One political party wants to, you know, see it happen in the other, then they can both say, oh, you did it first, I did it, and whatever, the backlash. But now, irrespective of your political parties, these are, I mean, miscreants, and crime is crime, murder is murder, and if there's a law and there's a way to go about it, everybody must be judged by the same law we're all be having to abide by. But anyway, let's run people through what today will be discussing.
Sure.
Interestingly, adolescent health challenge. There's an interesting one coming up.
How are we going to do it? I mean, we're going to...
So they'll be in schools.
Okay.
I mean, they'll try and form clubs in the schools. Let me not give them all the tidbits. Just stay tuned so that you find out what it is. But it's adolescent health. So if your children, you've got adolescents at home, make sure you wake them up to hear about this important health challenge so that they can join the clubs and then be able to participate in it. They plan to be very interesting.
So me, who is not an adolescent,
but we'll tell you later. We'll tell you at the right time. It will be going on between. Let me give you the time so that you stay tuned. 6:35 to 6:45. So make sure you stay with us to hear that. And Johnny will also be ranting about State of the Nation address 2019.
The expectations are high. You know, I have a lot of expectations because the promises that were made or have been made are numerous. Right. So I have a lot of expectations of the president. Good to see that a few of the promises have been fulfilled. Like, for example, the creation of new regions, free SHS. You have a couple of things coming up. The drone thing, you know, we're told it's coming up as well. But of key importance, one district, one factory, 1 million, one constituency, one village, one dam. There are some key promises
that haven't happened.
Yes, and which we were hoping that, well, because we tied the one district, one factory, for example, in with the fight against galamsey. Right. So now we say we have nipped a bit of galamsey in the bud, which I don't believe we have done a complete work. There's still work to be done. Right. But then the factories are non-existent, and you want to know why. Yeah. Okay, so what alternative jobs are we getting them? Even the fight against these militia or hoodlums or criminals, whatever we would choose to call them, once we have disbanded them, what happens to them? Because we know that both parties have had to train them, you know, giving them some form of a training. So what happens to them afterwards? What happens to them? I need to know what the plan is. Yeah. And yesterday, a certain trend that got to me yesterday, Amma, I said, apart from President Rawlings, every president after him, President Kufuor, President Mills, President Mahama, President Akufo-Addo, every president has used these private guards or these boys while in opposition. And then as soon as they cross over into power, the boys follow them into power. Right. Check the pictures of all the presidential candidates. President Mills, President Rawlings, not President Rawlings, President Mills, President Kufuor, President Mahama, President Akufo-Addo. Whoever was guarding them, and I'm not talking about official police or military, I'm talking about these macho men who guard them. They suddenly metamorphose into national security people. And you're wondering, what's their level of training? Okay. How are they transitioned there? So it does suggest to me that even the presidency, and not just this presidency, even the presidency seems to endorse a bit of, you know, what's happening. Elsewhere, as soon as you become president, the state security or secret service will take over. Right. End of story. If anybody desires to be a bodyguard, he gets proper training. Right. But it doesn't happen in our situation. Elsewhere, NADMO is part of fire service. So there's no space for job for the boys. You get into NADMO because you're properly trained for the job.
But that's what we have created over these years to make it a norm, such that it's as if I want the people I have been working with for a long time, because obviously you're familiar with them, and so for your own security, you'd want them to be around. But where we have endorsed such that they become national security is where it is a problem, because then clearly we don't even understand what it means to say national security. Because if we had that group of people who had been trained, irrespective of what party you were coming from, because they're there to protect the presidency and they don't have any political coloration to that, they will do so. They will execute their duties. Just like how we've been fighting for the IGP not to have any, you know,
political, and security.
That's how national security is supposed to be. You're supposed to be with that influence from any political party or even any presidency. And so irrespective of where you're coming from, whether you were PPP in your past life and you've come to join national security, so far as you've come to national security, you don't have any political coloration. You're just there to serve the nation. But unfortunately, with many of our agencies, we've infiltrated and we're spoiling it.
It's
and
sad.
It'll come back to, you know, hurt us in the back. But anyway, that's what we have.
It's sad. Anyway, so the economy, I'm sure, will be top on the agenda too on the State of the Nation address, particularly the tax regime that has come. I have always had a question to raise about the informal sector and how we're roping in the informal sector. I've always had a concern. Look, take a look at our churches. And I know that people will talk about church tax. Right. I'm talking about the fact that as a country, we don't care who starts a church. We don't care who manages a church. We don't care whether the churches are being used for money laundering or not. We don't care how much the churches are making. You know, most of these are husband and wife installations that have just come up, and they mention huge figures, and they are buying, you know, extravagant stuff for themselves, and you can see them, you know, just flaunting the wealth, the suit, house, car, this, that. I traveled with my wife. Nobody said you can't. You can't do that. But what does it take to be a pastor in Ghana? What does it take?
Nothing.
You just need to come and tell us that you got a call from God. End of story.
Why are you doing this?
Yes, you just got a call from God. Yes, you just need to come and say, oh, Nyamia Fremi, God has called me. That's it. Yeah. Nobody checks your mental capacity. Nobody checks your background. Nobody checks your academic qualification. Nobody checks your what do you call it, work experience. Tell me which of Jesus's apostles was unemployed before he became a follower of Jesus. They all had something doing. So how come somebody just springs up from nowhere, can't even string a sentence or two together, and decides that he is, you know, running a church?
But that's what the people want.
How?
Johnny, that's what have you seen the numbers of people who throng to those churches on a daily basis? So you would agree that these are potholes that are being filled because they know what our itching ears want to hear, and they're making that available.
Imagine,
you see, so let's not even talk. I want to shift from the pastors. When you talk about the informal sector, Johnny, when you drive from just La Paz, see the number of people who sell along the road
at night.
Even in the day, broad daylight, those of you who use the La Paz Road will testify. There's so many people. Every spot has someone selling something. And even these people who are visible cannot be taxed. How much more all these other things? Let's even talk about those that work on the internet. Because now, if you realize, internet jobs are booming. People have online shops.
They're booming.
And that's what they're doing. Why would I go and rent a space when I know it's expensive? I can't even afford it. But I'll, you know, keep a few things in probably my boot or a little, you know, wardrobe in my house and be selling.
Do a little
and
video
if you can't even tax the visible things, is it me online that I come to chase? So we're losing money in so many other aspects, and yet we seem to only be taxing the people who have willingly come to register their companies, to be doing the right thing, who come monthly to give you their return.
So it's
unfair.
I go back to the church. When a certain pastor or supposed pastor advertises a mobile money number and tells the church members, if you want to come for consultation, pay 300 cedis to this mobile money number and get a number or a code number before you come and meet me. That's business.
It is.
Why is it not being taxed?
Because
why is it not being taxed? That's business. Why is it not being taxed?
That one is by the fireside.
When a mason or a carpenter goes onto the site, he earns 120 cedis a day. Okay? And then packs his things and goes home. He's marked 120 cedis a day. That's somebody's general manager's a day, earning.
If I was making that, I'll stop my way.
But he goes home tax-free. And yet, when there is a chance to argue for provision of social amenities, he's the first. Abandon Nyashi. But they are the ones who don't pay taxes. And then you find somebody who earns 480 cedis a month.
And it will be taxed.
And they will be taxed.
Because it's passing through either controller or it's passing through, you know, a recognized institution.
So, I mean, I want to see the tax regime properly, looked at. Because, look, the 27% of us can't continue taking care of the 73% of the rest of them.
But you've been doing it for a long time and you seem to be accustomed to it.
Now we are
you
tired.
want it to change.
Because now, the way it is, it will be difficult for rich people to go to heaven. You remember that? I know. But you are paying your tithe, and then you are paying 10% more of if you are earning more than was it 15,000?
But those whom God has blessed, He has blessed. Anyway, guys, let's take a break. We'll be back with more here on Newday. Do stay with us. We are still here on Newday. It's time for us to rant. And Johnny, we're going to be talking about expectations.
Let me say a happy birthday to Akofa Ejeni, beautiful actress and owner of Fali Restaurant behind the Flagstaff House. It's your birthday today. Happy birthday, Akofa. We'll come and enjoy some of the Gary Photo and tilapia. I mean, you should have some at the Fali
anytime
restaurant.
she comes here, she's asking why I never come there. Of course, it's work, you know, when I go and come back this way. But I'll try it.
But her Gary Photo, I like the Gary Photo.
I have tried it.
And and the tilapia is absolutely. And
but on her birthday, you should be giving. You shouldn't be demanding.
Oh no, I will go and buy. I will go and buy, and
Ask for into
yeah, because at TV3, when is your birthday? You give.
Share.
Yes, but when I go there, I'll ask for one more, like
the tilapia or something.
Cone or something of rice, something, yeah, something nice.
Anyway, who has the other birthday?
Mrs. Agnes Okine, wife of Mr. Andrew Okine of Prudential Bank, is your birthday. Kukwa, enjoy your best, and if it's your birthday today as well, happy birthday. Yesterday, my mom actually did a party, and I didn't know about it, and I walked into the party.
Nice.
No,
so you enjoyed.
I was ambushed.
Oh, but it wasn't for you. It wasn't meant to be.
Yes,
you were surprised.
But my aunties were there, so I was shocked. What's happening?
Oh, happy belated birthday to you, Johnny's mom. I'm sure yesterday you had a good time. But how come you didn't bring anything from the party?
Oh,
you come to give yourself away.
No, don't worry. I'll sort you out. I'll sort you out.
Anyway, guys, let's rant. Expectations for the State of the Nation's address will be coming up tomorrow. Let's find out what your take is. What you expect the president to talk about.
How the dollar is faring against major international currencies. The economy as a whole are questions or expectations of many Ghanaians who would be listening to the president come Thursday as he will be delivering his State of the Nation's address. This morning on Daily Rant, we ask what the expectations of people are and also find out whether previous State of the Nation addresses have met their expectations. Welcome to Daily Rant.
Thank you. Well, we're talking about the state of Ghana, Abi.
Nation's address.
Yes, the president, His Excellency, is supposed to tell Ghanaian people what he has done with the mandate we have entrusted into his care. This is third State of the Nation. So for me, who is not a spectator but a citizen, clearly there are some very important questions I would like to ask. Okay. The president was elected to serve a mandate based on some pillars: transforming Ghana, creating jobs for all who are willing and able to work, fighting corruption and delving a heavy blow to it, improving our infrastructure, free SHS, and industrializing Ghana, and making Ghana the best place that we can possibly want to be.
So is your interest here, are you alerting government that we need to know more about these things? And for me, where I stand, I would want to know the perception of the people to these things. Are we not receiving so much State of Nation address? That's just about some level of people up there who may not really appreciate what we those down there are seeing as a state. How far is this State of Nation address being influenced by our situation as Ghanaians, us as ordinary citizens? All these big terms.
Just to chip in, the State of the Nation address is supposed to give us an objective analysis of the performance of the regime up to a particular period. But my issue is, do we actually get that objective analysis? Is it colored in politics and all that? Do we get the high points and the low points?
So then that brings us to my question. Do you think that the previous State of the Nation's addresses that the president has presented over the period of 2 years, have those addresses met our expectations?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, they are basically rituals. Okay. It's a ritual. The president is supposed to come and tell us something. And he has come twice. He has told us what he wants to tell us. But the fundamental question is, to what end has all of this been? How have the Ghanaian situation yesterday changed from today? What is our current situation? On what basis are we assessing the progress that the president has made or he hasn't made? So for me, those are the critical questions. Do we see the transformation he promised us? Do we see the vim in fighting corruption as he has promised? Do we see the change?
You see, it's difficult for us to measure the change because in the past, has all those State of Nation address also been objective? Do we have objectivity in these things? Where were we and where are we going to? because it's always colored up in people's perception and political position to say that that regime, it was this negative, our regime is this beautiful. So when are we going to get the true picture to be able to make these comparisons?
Clearly, what she said is right. Tomorrow, as the president steps up, you will see his first comment. This economy was run down, everything was bad. He had come, he had saved the situation, and yet the situation is still the same with the ordinary person. So you see that it is more of a political ritual. Let me tell them, and that kind of
way. We will have the State of the Nation's address. What I mean is that, assuming he comes to present that, we should have an opportunity to listen to what he told us last year, okay? So that we can have that trend analysis. When he speaks, we will be on the media discussing it for 1 week, phoning calls, that NDC, MPP gimmicks and all that. Then after 1 week, we all shelve the issues, right? Waiting for another State of Nation's address. And that is why we are matching time, right? So if there was an opportunity, if it comes to Parliament, then we'll highlight what he told us about the state of the nation last year, to see whether
so now system to do fact checks. Yeah, okay. So as the president is telling us what his people have written for him, we should have a mechanism to fact check every statement the president makes.
I'm actually even thinking that the media and other civil society should be able to have some sort of shadow states of nation reports, something that is also available, that we can also either before or after his state, we bring it out. This is our analysis of the State of the Nation address, per what we are engaging people on. And I think that will move us somewhere.
Now, last year, right after the president read his State of the Nation's address, we saw the NDC, that's the minority in parliament, coming to present something they call the real State of the Nation's address. Is that something like that you are calling for? But this is coming from politicians. So was it also just about politics? We didn't see the CSOs. You are members of the CSOs. We didn't see you people come out to make your real State of the Nation's address.
It's very difficult for the ordinary Ghanaian to appreciate what the politician is saying. So if NDC brings a shadow State of Nation report, I'm sorry that a lot of us will not appreciate it. We need to have the outsiders, you and I, civil society, media, also coming in, but also being able to control our political colors in those states.
The reality is that in this country, we have two colors. In fact, that is what the politicians want all of us to believe. So whichever way you look at it, once it doesn't favor color A or color B, you are tagged. But for me, I think we must grow beyond this coloration. The reality is that the NDC would do the politics. It is the poisonous politics of MPP NDC. The president will give a litany of things that is supposed to make Ghana look like heaven, or New York, or New Jersey, or so Amsterdam. Then the NDC will make Ghana look like some place in Caladan, Afghanistan.
So you see, and that is why we are denied the true state of the nation. Because if we would actually take the true state of the nation and discuss the issues objectively, then we can actually get that. But you see, the NDC will be looking out for negative things in the state of a nation. So the ruling government would also maliciously just package positive things about the state of a nation. Just look at if you are to give the state of your family, right, for a week or for a month as a family head, I don't think everything will be rosy. But you'll be surprised that tomorrow, Ghana, when he's given the state of a nation, Ghana will look like this is heaven.
Okay, so let me ask you this. You are members of various CSOs, sorry. You are from NOSAC. You deal with governance, girl child empowerment and all that. You are from the good. You fight against corruption. So now let's pick the issues. When it comes to corruption, do you think that the previous State of the Nation addresses have tackled issues of corruption?
On corruption, my view is simple. It's always been lip service. We have never seen in this country, at least since the Fourth Republic, any genuine commitment by a Ghanaian leader to fight corruption. It's always been lip service. You see, the fight against corruption begins with the leader. The leader must, by his actions, conduct, and attitude, display incorruptibility and a resolve to stamp harshly against any act of corruption. The moment you miss that out of the leader, anything is lip service.
And you, madam, do you think when it comes to governance, because your organization is into governance, do you think that we have tackled governance from where you expect it to be? Governance getting to the people, at the doorstep of the people, and of course pulling along women. Do you think we've achieved that in previous addresses?
So you see, in previous addresses, we've had mentions of bits and pieces of how we are empowering women, how we are improving the access to education for the girl child, health service.
I expect the president to really tell us the true state of the nation. I mean the true state, capital T, capital R, capital U, capital E. And I expect the minority to actually confirm things that are actually right, not to give everything political colorations. You can say, okay, president said ABC, that is true, that is the actual state. Maybe this and this can be improved, okay? But we think that generally, as Ghanaians, we deserve more. Our structures need to be strengthened. Our women, our children need better services.
Our women, our children need better services. You just heard from ranters right here in Tamale. My name is Zubaida Ismail, and thanks for doing the listening.
Welcome back and thank you very much. The Ghanaian Times starts us off. It says, police probe Yamo Aponko Yamin over deadly shooting in Kumasi. Embrace election of MMDCs by the people, president. And I saw 7 bullet holes on Bawaleshi school wall, Greater Accra Regional Commander says. So, anti-money laundering and countering and the financing of terrorism. Ghana rejects blacklisting. The Daily Graphic. Fallout from bloody NDC meeting in Kumasi. Police quiz Yamin, Yamo Aponko. New Ghana map with 16 regional capitals is on page 44 of the Daily Graphic. You could buy it and read it, catch it out, and let your children know about it. Concerns about high import duties. Council of State intervenes. Let's not just disband vigilantes. It should be backed by law. DCOP Sapong, Greater Accra Regional Commander of the Ghana Police Service. Daily Guide. The court throws out Mahama Ayariga and Ghana Beyond Aid roadmap out. Slain NDC vigilante goes home today and police contradicts police at Ayawaso Commission. Yamu Aponko Yamin quizzed over NDC killing. The BNFT, Ghana Gas pushes for energy sector escrow account. Planned bailouts to reduce cost to economy, said Tekpe. And STC secures some $13 million loan for 100 new coaches. Finally, the Finder newspaper, 88% failed law school examination. Professor Sari wants General Legal Council dissolved. Presby moderator urges political parties to disband vigilante groups and embrace steps to electing MMDCs. Roadmap for Ghana Beyond Aid out. EC embarks on a 20-day voter transfer exercise. My guest this morning, the Honourable Alasa Suini, is the Member of Parliament for Tamale North, and the Honourable Andre Japamesa is the Member of Parliament for Sekondi. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Where do we begin? Do we start from the law school, or do we start from the commission, the progress they are making so far? Or maybe we'll start from police quizzing Yamwa Ponko and Yamin at this juncture. And yesterday, the police said they are picking some more suspects up of the unfortunate incident. Your party, Alaji, has asked that the police expedite action on this one. But this will be the first time, not from your party, this will be the first time we're seeing key political actors make this call to the police. And yet the police say, disband these groups, and we are not seeing action. Where do we go from here?
Well, thank you very much once again. Let me say good morning to Bobo, and then good morning to everyone, especially our viewers and the constituents of Tamale North. Good morning, and thank you very much for tuning in. I think that first of all, it has to be stated unequivocally that as a party, we condemn what happened in the Ashanti region. And we have, wasted no words in demanding that, the right things be done by way of serving justice to the people who were affected by this disturbance. And I will, perhaps on this note, want to extend my heartfelt condolences to the family of Washid, who I'm told will be buried later today. What happened in the Ashanti region clearly was a criminal act, and we do not want it to be reduced to vigilantism and partisanship. And that is why, as a party, clearly our leadership reported this matter to the police. The former president, also requested the police to take action and to find the perpetrators and take them through the full rigors of the law. And if they have invited Yamua Ponko and Joseph Yamin, it is because we hope that the police have something that links them to it, or they know something that they hope they can be of help as far as the unraveling of this matter is concerned. And it's all well and good. We don't think that anybody should be shielded in this matter. We think that whoever was responsible for this must be arrested and dealt with. It must be treated as a criminal act perpetrated by a criminal who, if arrested, must be severely dealt with. And we don't want it to be reduced to anything else but a crime that has been committed. And you see,
that's the third
and
point
that is, and whilst at this, I'll also want to caution the commentary. I want to caution people who are making commentary around it, even including the police, because I was first of all shocked that the first statement that came did not even come from the Ashanti Regional Police Command. It came from Accra. I mean, I don't know how quickly it heightened from the Ashanti region all the way to the headquarters for them to have to issue their statement. But be it as it may, even in that statement and the subsequent interviews that I heard the regional commander gave, I was not particularly happy that the element of partisanship was still lingering in the presentation of the regional police command, even though the leadership of the party have at every point, especially after this happened, insisted that this is criminal.
It's one thing to say this is criminal and this is bad, and it's another thing to say we are making a commitment to you. Next week we won't have any such elements around us, and that's for both parties, because we do know that the problem, and yesterday I said it here yesterday, that these guys are hoodlums and they are criminals. Professor Mensah Bosu said they are militia. Let's not call them vigilantes for anything. So the point, we've gotten to the point where we need to say to ourselves that beyond condemnation, beyond equalization, we don't want them anymore. And so the party should disassociate itself from them.
I'll get to that, but I'll still continue with what I was saying about cautioning people who make commentary on these things, because it is the way we comment on it that will help the situation or leave it as, maintain the status quo. So if we say it is criminal and you think it was done by a member of a group that belongs to us, we do not care. And like our General Secretary said, fish that person out if you can find him. And people are ready to collaborate and get the person dealt with according to the laws. But again, we are talking about a regional command that in the past, got their facts wrong when the case of some alleged armed robbers were killed.
The seven.
The 7 armed robbers were killed and guns displayed. So when you have them acting in such haste, branding people in such haste, you begin to wonder if they are not perhaps at it again. You would have thought that the lessons of those 7 armed robbers will make them cautious about how to brand a criminal incidents or people involved in that crime. But so that is the only worry I have. The fact that they have branded people in the past as armed robbers who turned out per investigations not to be armed robbers, and the president through the state had to compensate families, for that. So I think they should hasten
except
slowly.
to say that in this particular instance, the 4 names that we're giving up, were given up by somebody from within your party.
I understand that, but you see, we are saying that these people committed a crime, and so pursue them, deal with them as criminals, and avoid those branding, especially when you are even getting cooperation from the people that you may want to call vigilante groups. The people themselves are telling you that we saw those who did it. These are the people. Even if they are one of us, they have committed a crime. And that is the difference that must be emphasized here. Even if they are one of us, they have committed a crime, and we are urging you to go after them. So there's no point, in highlighting, the brand that we all are trying to say that, we are all speaking against these days. And I am happy. I am happy that we have gotten to the point where the nation is speaking about the need to deal with this vigilante
starts from
groups.
the parties. The question now to you is your party ready to disband these groups? For example, and this will be my final thing to you.
I am a member of parliament of my party. Okay. I don't work in the party secretariat. I do not speak for the party in terms of its administration and the structures that exist.
Wish as an MP,
but you see,
a key member of your party, what would be your private wish?
I don't think it is a fair question. My private wish.
Why is it not a fair question?
I will explain to you. My private wish, I have stated so many times in years past. When this started, I stated my private wish. And if you go back to my old discussions on this matter, especially around 2015 and 2016, you would have heard me saying that let's stop this before other political parties pick it up. I kept saying it, that let's stop this before other political parties emulate that example. I kept saying it. And so my worry and my disappointment, well, maybe not disappointment, but my worry is that at this stage, once again, we have allowed a certain misdeed to fester to a point where we are now calling on the nation to help those who nurtured this misdeed to resolve it. Why did we have to come to this point? And when you speak, you are saying this is the last question you're asking me. This may take a little, maybe just 2 minutes.
When we speak, needs to have his
yes. When we speak, then people make references to Azoka boys when it started in the past. But look, Johnny, let's be very honest. The NDC didn't consciously go out of its way to set up a group known as Azoka boys. So anybody knows the history. They come up? I will give you the history. The NDC had internal contest, and at the time, the contest was between, even though former President Rawlings was not contesting, he had a big weight and supported some side. And then Obed Asamoah, who was our chairman at the time, had another faction. Now, the supporters of Chairman Rawlings at the time, when they got to Congress, in their over-exuberance, unleashed what you can call violence on the Obed Asamoah faction. Bit Zidin and Francis and SCM and others were manhandled. And these boys were led by Sofo Azoka. And so they became known as Azoka boys. Then after that Congress, there was a by-election in the north. And they went there again, Azoka went there again to support his party. So it is not like the NDC consciously set up some group known as Azoka boys to unleash mayhem on people. Then after that, the MPP set up the Bamba boys. We had all kind of boys.
Those were set up by the NPP.
No, well, I can also say Bamba and others, but because Bamba was a national organizer at the time.
So
Bamba was a national organizer, so he used the party structure. You can see, because Azoka was nobody. Azoka was not an executive of the party.
I'm just curious. I'm just curious. Bobo, allow me. I'm just curious. Hold on.
Can I finish?
I'm just curious to know. The party didn't form it, you say, but the party didn't condemn what happened at the time. That's institutionalizing the error.
I will get to the difference. Now, Bamba, who was a national... Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. I beg you. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Just because he was national organizer and formed it, and subsequently they formed other groups. Then in 2015, that's why I was saying that I kept saying this in 2015. In 2015, we then had the NPP institutionalizing this across the country, forming the regions, forming Bulldogs, Invisible Forces, Delta Force, and justifying it. And I kept saying, let's stop this before other parties emulate it. I kept saying this.
Bobo,
it is sad that we are here.
Stepping for me now. Now, the clarion call is that, look, we don't need this. It's causing us a lot of trouble. You have some, they have some, but we don't need it. What happened in Kumasi is very unfortunate. I don't know what your thoughts are now, but you want to share them.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to Alas and to our cherished viewers, particularly my constituents in 2nd who have taken time off to watch us this morning. You see, wrong is wrong. And crime is crime. These vigilante groups cannot be allowed to continue festering within our political space. It's a matter of fact. And if we, as political actors, will not be candid enough to the people of Ghana, admit that we have encouraged these groups to grow within our parties, and rather seek to rationalize by apportioning blame and seeking to suggest that it is the NPP which in 2015 and 2016 institutionalized these vigilante groups. How are we going to make progress? Because unless you think that, consistent with your party's belief that Ghanaians have short memory, we can't remember the activities of these groups in both parties in the past, in previous by-elections in this country. I'm sorry. Doesn't work that way. We can't approbate and reprobate at the same time. I've always said that, look, the seeds that we are sowing as political parties, particularly when we are in opposition, the absence of state protection to political parties clearly is the reason why these groups have been.
John Kudalo offered you political position, official protection in 2016.
At what
asked
point?
that you disband these groups, and the parties refused.
Look,
you even had your
Johnny,
presidential candidates had a chance to go and select who you want to guard you. 6 of them.
Johnny, at what point did that decision arise?
At the point he said, as IGP,
at what point?
Disband these groups.
At what point? This was close to the elections, where we've all erred. Since they went into opposition, have they now institutionalized the Hawks? They've been with them forever. You've seen pictures of former President Mahama during his unity walks with people in Hawk t-shirts guarding him. When he was in government, of course, he had state security apparatus that could provide him with that security.
He still does as ex-president.
Well, I guess, but are they sufficient in number to protect his team and the party wherever they're going? So let's have that kind of conversation and see what it is that, as a country, we can do to ensure that our political party...
That one day, these boys, whether they be in NDC or MP, were central point where now, after chasing officials of both parties, they get to a central point and they become like the Boko Haram of Nigeria.
Well,
Do you see that?
We do not get there. And of course, I'm not a soothsayer to be able to predict what is going to happen in the future. But obviously, from what we've seen so far, brazenly going out to murder in broad daylight, clearly, it's not a good sign. And so it's about time that we drop the politicking and be candid and fair to the people of Ghana and find ways that would ensure that these groups cease to exist.
We know those who commandeer them, so to speak, within the parties. We know those who commandeer these groups, those whose voice they listen to, those who fund them, those who give them money. We know. Why won't we as political parties speak to those people and tell them, look, tell your boys to that Ejumanasa, we have closed.
And I agree. Should be part of the.
But rather go to
the
police and say, investigate.
You see, and that's the insincerity that my friends on the other side always want to exhibit.
So it happens on your side.
No, I agree. And what were their comments when it happened in our side? That's exactly the kind of comments I want to hear from him. People who attacked courts, okay, they committed a crime. The police arrested some of them, investigated, prosecuted. They said, well, they are party boys. Today, when it happened in your camp, we should not brand, but treat it as pure crime. How does that work? If it wasn't good at the time, and we attributed it to the political party, not the individuals, then we should be consistent. But is that the kind of conversation we want to keep on having as a people? Obviously not. And so when these things come about, let's attack it from its roots. We know where the roots are, but we'll drop it and play the politicking, MPP, NDC, and that's the end of the matter.
That's sad.
Of course it is, and I'm saddened that we, the politicians who are supposed to lead, are not taking leadership.
Well, it's
in this regard.
It's because you condemn and then you come back to equalize.
No, but you see,
that's what you all do.
I
you condemn at one point and then you come back to equalize.
Johnny,
and then you call it history or background.
I agree, but you see, just as they tell us that we are in government now, and so whatever actions or inactions that some of these people do, we should be held responsible. Look at the Ayawaso West Wugon incident. Of course, as far as I'm concerned, it'll be completely blown out of proportion because it was one incident, regardless of the quantum of injuries that I'm coming.
You can't say that.
Please, I'm coming. The point is this, that state security apparatus have been used, as they say, to unleash violence on Ghanaians in the past. What happened? When the Let My Vote Count demonstrators, there were state security agents who were unleashed on them. What happened? Absolutely nothing.
Equalization.
It's not.
It is.
I'm trying to draw a clear difference. What has happened today? When, assuming without admitting that, as they claim, state security agents were unleashed on innocent citizens in Ayawaso. What has happened? A comprehensive investigation is taking place in public. That's a clear difference. Because obviously, whether it's election related,
and we're sure that the recommendations of this commission will be abided by the president.
I expect His Excellency the President, in the wisdom that he set up this commission, to implement in full whatever recommendations that they bring. Because otherwise, you see, what we forget is that the larger Ghanaian public is looking, is watching, to see what it is that would come out of this commission. And so I have said that really is the commentary about the content and the alleged inconsistencies, because all the portions that I've listened to and the claim that Minister of Interior says the vehicles are not part of police fleet. And Minister of National Security says that, well,
that's one part of it.
Consists of inconsistency.
There's a video we have of Chief DSP Azugu, who was in charge of the team that went there. He was completely helpless in trying to call the boys to order. And again, I say, I grew up in the barracks. I know what anybody with an officer with pegs on his shoulder, the power that they have. Even a staff sergeant, you know, a WO, I know what commands they have. When they tell the boys stop, they stop. When they tell them go, they go. In that video, you could tell the DSP calling the people, and nobody was minding him. Then he calls this one, then people pass behind him, and they're kicking the people and hitting them all over. That's clearly an indication that he didn't have control.
Well,
and that's a sense of worry.
Well,
that's worry.
Well, that's why I guess that the investigation is critical.
So up until now, Bobo, we saw their faces. We saw the DSP, and the DSP even decided that he was going to write the name of the person who assaulted Honorable Sam George on a sheet of paper at the commission. For me, I don't know why it was allowed. For me, from a layman's point of view, but we saw their faces. We saw it. He knows them. He commandeered them. Why has no arrest been made up until now? Why?
You see, I wouldn't know from where I said whether some process hasn't commenced internally. Because let's not pretend as if to say the rules of disciplinary procedure within the security services is the same as is applicable for some private citizen who has committed some offense. Okay, there is some clearly laid down procedure in dealing with administrative indiscipline, excesses and all that. And if indeed it is established that some crime has been committed, because bear in mind that some minimal force, okay, is granted state security agencies in ensuring law and order. So I think that the appropriate thing for us to do is to wait for the commission to conclude its work, so that whatever findings that they come out with and the recommendations that they come out with can be acted upon. Because asking whether some people have been arrested, I don't know whether police people go on operation or...
A member of parliament equal to a high court judge was slapped in public. That's not good. And I'm just, you know, looking at you eyeball to eyeball, and I want you to speak to me from the better part of the bottom of your heart. If the tables turned and this happened to you, what would your reaction be?
I have roundly condemned the manhandling of my very good friend, Sam George. And indeed, we have spoken since then. We've met. He's a very good friend of mine, just like Alassane here, and we engage quite often. And I would not, under any circumstance, countenance the actions that the state security agents took against him. No matter what it is, no matter the extent of provocation, if any, it was completely unacceptable for them to have manhandled him in the manner that they did. And I say that the internal processes and the commission's inquiry that is currently ongoing, and indeed the IGP, if I understand quite clearly, has indicated that some investigation is going to be conducted, and if people are found culpable, if it requires prosecution, by all means.
Okay.
I fail to see why we are in a haste to jump the gun when indeed His Excellency the President has responded to calls that were made by Ghanaian citizens, including members of the NDC. Mr. Totobi Kwache's open letter to the President called for such a commission to be set up. And His Excellency the President, consistent with his belief in governance, transparency in governance, has set up this commission, which is doing a fantastic job. Look at the kinds of things that are happening there. And so I will urge, after all, the commission has only 1 month. Of course, I don't know whether His Excellency the President would heed to the petitions that are
for extension.
That some other matters that relates to electoral violence in our country should be covered so we can deal with this matter conclusively.
Step down for me and let Sweeney take. Yeah, Sweeney.
Just quickly. I mean, my brother talked about appropriate and reprobate, and there's a need for me to clarify that. Sometimes when these discussions are conducted, it's important that we note the similarities and the dissimilarities. Right. Some things may look the same, I mean, may look similar but not be the same. So if you don't disintegrate, you know, the qualities of the discussion, you will think, you make a mistake of saying what is similar is the same, but it's not always the case. So for example, when you have party leadership leading some of these boys to the courtrooms, paying their fines, you know, speaking in defense of them and threatening the whole party that if these boys are sanctioned, the party will come down.
Which party leadership are you talking about? Which party leadership are you talking about?
You made reference to those boys who went to court and who got prosecuted. So when you are having a discussion of the conduct of those boys, it becomes difficult to insulate what they have done, which is criminal, from the embracement and the endorsement that they get from party bigwigs and leadership.
To your former
I wasn't interrupting you. Please.
Allow him. He kept quiet.
You see, so it's important that we understand the discussion from that point. When we say that, look, the boys committed a crime, let them be dealt with. And then you have party leadership providing them with succor, you know, and giving them all the protection and support that they need. Then it becomes difficult to insulate the party from it. But in this particular case, I'm saying it is criminal, and I'm not just the only one saying it. The former president is saying it's criminal. Our party leadership reported to the police, and they are saying, arrest them. And you haven't seen anybody come around to say, look, these are my boys. If you deal with them, the party will come down, like we saw in the past. You know, so that is where the difference is, even though the cases may be similar. So in that discussion, when you look at the qualities of the argument, then you understand whether it makes sense to attribute it to a party or to treat it, to brand it, you know, as a party thing, or to treat it as criminal.
Well, we've gotten to, we need to
get that.
Out everything.
I get that. But then again, please. But then again, let us not confuse the discussion of the need to disband vigilante groups with what happened in Ayawaso and what the commission is doing. Let's not confuse that. I get disheartened when we do that. There are two separate issues. The need to disband vigilante groups.
They are not vigilante. We need to stop calling them
whatever,
so that they don't get impetus to
the need to deal with that canker is separate but somewhat related to what happened in Ayawaso Wagon. Some people have said it is an escalation. What happened in Ayawaso Wagon is an escalation. That I am willing to concede. But I think what happened in Ayawaso Wagon was state-sponsored terrorism. And that is why we need to segregate it. Because in the past, what we have had has been the case of party, you know, if you like, over-exuberance people who come together to say they are providing security. NDC, MPP. Then you have the states in the middle. Sometimes they either act well or they don't act well. But you will have always distinguished between these are NDC boys, these are MPP boys, but this is the state. In Ayawaso Wagon, you had some people that we are yet to identify having access to state accoutrements and unleashing mayhem. That is why I call it state-sponsored terrorism. If you say it was an escalation of the what do you call it, NPP vigilante groups being given state uniforms and all that, that then makes it even worse. And that is why it should not be compared to what has ever happened before. Again, Johnny, just the sad part again is when we equate this to what has happened during demonstrations in this country. The NPP, the CJA demonstrations under the NDC got police brutalizing them. The MPP have had demonstrations that led my vote count.
Equalization.
No, John. You see, when we introduce this word, we miss the point.
No,
equalization. You are
equalization.
No.
He talked about led by vote count.
No. But that is not. I'm making the point that those are things that have existed. It is separate from giving hoodlums, uniforms, and guns to terrorize people. It's different. I'm saying that those things, don't say that, oh, because people demonstrated in the past, whether under NDC or NPP, and the security men beat them, so it is also equal to state terrorism. No, those are separate things that we have all faced. I'm not equalizing. I'm just stating the fact that those are things that have happened. But those are different from what happened in the
Johnny, let's not equate it. Hold on for me. Sohini, tomorrow the president makes a State of the Nation address. What would you like to hear from the president on security, internal security, that is?
I don't want, honestly speaking, Johnny, I'm tired of hearing from our president.
Why?
He talks a big lot and does so little.
That's unfair.
That is so true. He does so little. Give him the speeches. Listen to him. He's so impressive with speeches. So impressive. But there's absolutely nothing on the ground. So I'm tired of listening to him. Maybe you should have asked me what I want him to do. I have lost hope that he is capable of doing anything. What? How many times hasn't he promised us? Especially when these hoodlums started seizing state institutions, when he first came into power, that he was dealing with it. How many beautiful speeches hasn't he made about how he was going to deal with it? 2 years on, it's getting out of hand. Now you are even getting state support and sponsor and sponsorship.
He needs your commitment to work.
What kind of commitment? He has the power. He has been given the authority. He's commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces.
Can he work alone? Can the president work alone?
He is an executive president. He has the laws on his side. If he doesn't, if he takes the partisanship of his eyes, he has all the authority that he requires to deal with this. Especially starting with his party.
So what do you want him to do?
I think that, look, I have lost confidence in the president's ability to do anything.
You don't want him to say.
But first of all, I think he needs to start. I was listening to Pastor Mensah Otabil when he spoke about corruption in the past. I think it was Occupy Ghana platform. And he gave the example of, I think, Zimbabwe, where they were going to start, a decongestion exercise, and started by destroying their party office, the ZANU-PF party. And so he wanted leaders to fight what is graft or what is wrong in society by dealing with what happens in their homes. And that is how you give confidence and actually even scare others that if you engage in it, look, this is even his own person that he's doing that to. Let the president leave that example. Let him deal with the violence that he started championing, because he was the leader of the MPP when this thing started in 2015, forming the Bulldogs, the Invisible Forces, the Delta Forces, unleashing mayhem even on their party chairman, chasing their secretary out, and he sat and looked on. And some of us at the time cautioned that if you made him the president, it was going to become a national crisis. And that is what we are faced with today. Okay, let him deal with it.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that others will
deal
follow.
With it. Bobo, what do you want to hear from the president? What do you look forward to?
Thankfully, the president need not listen to Alassane Sohini in taking any decision that he intends to take.
So you see, you thought I had a role to play. He says the president should listen.
He need not
doesn't the president need collaboration from us?
You thought I had a role to play. He has executive authority.
You heard him.
Hold on.
He has executive
authority. Alassane, hold on.
You heard him. How many incidents
leader
has?
I
can do what he's doing, so I don't have a problem.
I'm just doing a little of what you
see.
So you see how it feels.
Alassane,
but it's all right.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
You see, you sit here and say you are tired of listening to the president because since he became president, all he's been doing is speaking. Look at the deliverables that we have achieved.
In terms of security?
In terms of everything.
No, security.
You see,
that's our focus.
Look, I agree. Of course, the deliberate attempt by the NDC to throw words around state-sponsored terrorism, according to who? It's a sense of insecurity. You drove here alone. Okay, of course. We've all been living in this country with armed robbery. It's not an MPP problem.
People drive in Somalia alone too.
You see, I don't. Yes, and of course.
It's not always.
I expect.
Hey, in Somalia.
I expect that we'll get there. I expect that our state security agents, the Ghana Police Service, increasingly government will make more money available to them for them to recruit more people, so their visibility in our communities are enhanced. I expect that we'll get there. But to suggest that we live in some country that is filled with some violence.
You have not told me what you want to hear from the president.
I expect that His Excellency the President will tell us what it is that the state security agencies have been doing, the kinds of resources that government is going to make available to them, if that in itself is not contained in the budget, and everything that has to provide the Ghanaian assurances that look, we have isolated issues as always, but let's be assured that this country is safe, this country is peaceful. There is nothing close to the sense of insecurity that the NDC is intended on making us all believe. We live in a peaceful environment, and that whatever issues that come up, including the Ayawaso West Wogon and all the other.
Would you like him to call out to the IGP and tell him to make the laws work? He's done that so many times already, but the law hasn't worked in many instances. Would you like him to call out to the IGP?
I would rather say it as a half full. The law has not worked in some minor instances, not many instances.
Minor instances.
Of course, I mean,
like the gentleman who went to the Tamale Teaching Hospital, drove out the CEO. We saw his picture out there, and he was in the police custody. Nothing has happened to him after all this while.
Have you followed up to see what has happened to him?
And nothing has happened to him.
Say it again.
Nothing
I'm not aware. And so I cannot, of course, I'm not aware of
I'm
that.
saying nothing has happened to him.
And so I cannot speak to it. But obviously, the impression that the NDC want the people of Ghana to believe to be prevailing in this country is definitely not the case.
We don't want the people of Ghana to believe.
Okay.
The people of Ghana are living the reality. They have, in their area like Medina, seen Ahmed Swale being shot on the street. And up till today, we don't know who did it. They know of the example of the Gapoha PRO and manager. The people of Ghana are living it. They are living the insecurity.
We will see
they are living the insecurity. We are not making them believe. They are living
my guess. Gentlemen, I thank you very much. As a country, we have unresolved murders. That's just what they're telling you. A long list of it. Fennec Autry, Roger Kumsing, Openyina Dade, Josephine Asante. The list is endless. But I thank you very much. Honorable Asa Soyini is the Member of Parliament for Tamale North. Grateful for your time. And Andrew Ejapamesa is the Member of Parliament for Sekondi. Most grateful indeed for your time. We'll be back with some more here on Newday. I tell you what, if you're looking for groove, if you're looking for a very fine voice, if you're looking for the man who commands the choirs and makes sure they're singing the right notes, the melodies and the harmonies, the man who's now a pastor, Chata is the man to meet. Reverend Josh Lai is my guest in the studio. We'll go to him shortly, but let's say a happy birthdays to a few people. Christopher Soa, Daniel Kofi Amwating, Akofa Jenny, the actress, and also to you, Mrs. Agnes Okain, Amanyakwe Champon of Makers House Chapel. This is from Yaira Anko. It's your birthday today. Now, I need for you to note that on Saturday, music is big, is happening. This week, Akwabwa and B Wright are going to be our guests on the show. And guess what? You get free cocktails and you get some nice awards as well. If you come in looking sharp and well dressed, you get some awards. Plus, if you are exciting throughout the day from 8 to 10, you get to win awards as well. Also, Talented Kids, the grand launch of our 10th season is happening at the West Hills Mall on Sunday, the 24th. It's free, absolutely free. DJ Switch will be there, Samalos will be there, and all the other kids will be there. Nakel will be there as well. It's absolutely free. Talented Kids, free to play. Plus, on Saturday, we don't want to hear the story where somebody went to give birth and they lost their lives because they didn't have enough blood. So we're donating blood on Saturday. And I invite you to join us on Saturday on the Oxford Sports Street close by the Osu Mall. We'll be donating blood to make sure that everybody gets blood. This is a 3 Foundation initiative, TV3, with the Accra Regional Hospital, what we call the Ridge Hospital. So 8 a.m. sharp on Saturday, we're meeting at the Osu Mall to donate blood. But on Saturday, something else is happening. Let's turn our attention to Reverend Josh Lai, Chief. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Happy New Year to you. Good to see you. I saw the surprise on your face.
Yes.
You couldn't believe that was you.
Like you said, that was a proper throwback. It's been that was way back.
Way back.
Yes.
Way back.
2005.
When you see these clips and hear these songs that took the nation by storm, what runs through your mind?
Well, you just give thanks to God for playing your part in history, and definitely it's a memorial, and it's a joy to see that so many people have come out of this because they were inspired, they know they can do it, and they are doing it even better, to the glory of the living Jesus.
I see.
Yes.
You had a lot of hair on your hair. Where did the hair go?
Amazing how looks change.
The hair is vanished, and I'm thinking, where did it go?
Well, I think I look better, and for me,
this is it.
This
is the new chapter.
That's right.
Interesting.
That's right.
How's the church doing?
God has been gracious. God has been kind. Carry Center International is just doing so well. We are just close to 2 years, 1.5 years. Yes, but God has been very, very gracious to us, and we're doing things that I'm sure 20-year-old churches will do.
I see.
The most important thing is that we're taking the gospel to the campuses.
The campus, you're taking it to the... What does charis mean? I'm just curious.
Yes, charis actually means grace.
Grace. Okay.
And I think that that's the centrality of the scriptures, the grace of God. Man by himself can do nothing by himself, except God graces them. Everything we have, everything we do, has nothing at all to do with man's ability. God graces us, empowers us, and makes us do what we do. Yes.
The stream of churches that have come up, charis is less than 2 years, like you say, but there are a lot of churches that come up. Are you worried about the fact that people just come up and say, oh, I've been called by God, and they start a church, and they are part of the movement, as they like to call it? Are you worried?
It depends.
About the quality now of...
Good. So if you're talking about...
I'm talking about quality now.
Yes.
Are you worried?
Well, definitely Jesus said it, that there will be a lot, but on the judgment day, he himself. So we leave that to him.
Okay.
What we must make sure to do is we play our part and do what he has called us to do, because sometimes it's very difficult to know exactly whether you are judging right, because spiritual things sometimes cannot be too clear as to exactly the parameters that you have to really scrutinize this and get it right. Sometimes you think that the person is going off, but then they are in the will of God. And very soon you realize that this is God at work. So we have to be very careful.
Okay.
He does, it is his work. He judges. He called. If you called, then you can tell the person, okay, I called you, so I know what you're doing, you're going wrong. But if God called them, then it is God who has to judge them.
Okay,
let's do what he has called us to do.
What do you call it? Rwanda, for example, makes a demand on pastors to have a degree in theology. Do you think that as a country we need to start?
I think it's a brilliant idea, so that it gives a kind of a formative factor.
Okay.
All right. So you have a formidable beginning.
Okay.
You have the rudiments. You have the understanding of really what your calling is, and it gives you a good ground to be able to rise in a way that it will be difficult to veer off. All right, so I think that it's a very good thing, and education for me is the key.
It's key.
is key to everything we do in life. If you're doing something, you understand the rudiments of it, definitely you're going to take it somewhere that in the end will give problems to society. You know, so I think that was a good call, and if Ghana wants to do that, I think it should.
Your fans say ever since you became Osofo, manning your own church, you have abandoned them. You don't release the songs like you used to release for them. Well, and they asked me to ask you why.
Well, it's coming soon.
Because they know you still sing. So why are you not releasing the song?
Yes, we are going to do a release very, very soon.
Okay.
I did a couple. I mean, all I did was just get a single out. But very soon the album itself is going to come out.
Okay.
Yes, and it's a powerful one, and I'm sure definitely they will love it.
Interesting. 20 years I saw you celebrate wifey. Interesting. Also for romantic. What did you do on Valentine's Day? I'm just curious to know.
Oh, honestly, because of this program on campus, the focus is so much on it because I have a burden for the youth, and it's been there since.
Why do you have a burden?
Because that's actually the youth. The word youth means virgin or virginity. It means green. That's where all the energy is.
Right.
Everything you want to do must start from your youth, because you have a lot of energy to churn, a lot of intelligence to use, you know, and that's what God does. If you look at all the people that God used, for most of them, He used them during their youth. The Daniels and all of those guys, David. It all started from their youth, because that's where you have the energy to do so much for Him.
Have we lost it as a nation in terms of how we have managed our younger people?
Definitely, we all know that. We don't care about them. We don't have an organized system to be able to say, okay, these are the plan. These are the plans we have to be able to grow and develop our youth in a way that will be very substantial. We don't have it. You know, we have what we call maybe the Ministry of Youth, but honestly, we all know that they don't do anything. You know, we all struggle by our own selves to do things that we are doing now. But it's not because there's a system that takes us through a kind of a scrutiny and helps us to grow in a certain direction, you know, especially patriotism. We don't have it. It is not in our fabric. It is not.
It is not in our fabric. That's the song in the background. It's like you listen to the song.
We'll lift them up, for this is a fact of life. Let's go.
I see, man. What inspired this song, Emre Beba?
Well, I had been through a lot in life. I've been through a lot of challenges.
Right.
And I believe that as a believer, that's how you grow.
Right.
Yes, you grow through your challenges. It is created as a launching pad to get to your next level. You just must learn the lessons God wants you to learn out of them, and He pushes you to your next notch. I did so many things, but there were no fruit to show.
What did you do?
What I mean was that I was hitting hard with regards to the music industry.
Right.
I was doing everything right.
Right.
But there was no fruit. And you feel frustrated because you think that, I'm doing what I need to do. Why is it not yielding results? And then all of a sudden, at one point, everything just started going well when I was not doing much. And then I realized, no, you can sow, but when it is not time for it to germinate, you will think that your efforts are fruitless because it is not the season.
Okay.
In life, you must understand the seed.
Okay.
You must understand the soil.
Okay.
You must understand the season.
I see.
These are the three components that make life.
The seed, the soil, the season.
The season. The soil must be good. The seed must be good.
Okay.
Just wait for the season.
For the right season. I see. Wow. This is interesting. Very interesting then. Let's talk about the churches one more time. And I like the fact that you spoke about the youth development in this country. Have our churches helped the younger people to grow up, apart from putting them in groups and encouraging them to pray and to come and join and sing and work for the church?
Oh, I think that if you talk about contribution, the church has done a lot. Most of the private universities now came out of churches.
Right.
So they are trying to at least do something to make sure that our children, our youth are educated.
Some say that these private universities, compared to the churches of old, how they put up primary schools and JHSs and hospitals that were doing half the price, or if you like, free school, these universities that are springing up from the churches are taking neck-breaking fees, especially when the seed monies for these universities are being collected from the church. Some believe that the church members should have benefited. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think so. I think it more has to do with the management problem. Yes, than a deliberate thing to more like make money out of the students.
Right.
I don't think that's actually the intention.
Okay.
All right, because I have lectured in the Central University for like 19 years.
Right.
Okay, so I understand what goes into getting the university on its feet.
Okay.
And it takes a lot. It's massive.
Right.
And if you don't do that, the youth are not going to get the quality education they came in for. Especially when you decide that you're not taking grants from outside and you're not taking all of those things, and you want to do something right from the soil.
Right.
Then it becomes quite a difficult task.
Do you miss your days at ICGC?
Oh, honestly,
the choirs that you used to control.
Honestly, yes.
Head of music. Do you miss the days?
Definitely, yes. Yes. I mean, I quite had a lot of wonderful relationships, and so definitely you will. I mean, yes. ICGC made a lot of influence in my life, and especially Dr. Tabel and the rest of them. Yeah. So definitely you will.
This Saturday, a big fat party is happening. We call it the Charis Movement, Grace Movement. That's it.
That's right.
Ref, tell me about it. Why Grace Movement? Why?
Well, because I believe strongly that we have veered off the path of God's grace, and we were trying so hard to do things by ourselves. You know, the set of rules for the believer is very different from that of the world, and that's what we must appreciate as believers. That if you are a believer, things and how you do stuff can never be the same as the world.
You must be different.
You must be different. The word rules the world because the word made the world.
Interesting.
So you must impose his word over your word.
Okay.
And make sure that the word rules. And there are things in the Bible that differently give us, two sets of operations, different sets of operations, but we want to behave like the world. God's grace is what catapults every believer to where they are. Paul said, I am what I am by the grace of God.
I see. Now, this Saturday when we meet, what time are we meeting? Are they
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
at the Central Cafeteria at the University of Ghana, Legon. And it's just going to be very insightful. The atmosphere is going to be terrific.
Are you going to be there alone? Speaking
Joe
alone.
Metal is coming.
Joe Metal is coming. Who else?
University of Ghana Mass Choir.
Okay.
Chosen Vessels.
Chosen Vessels.
Worship in Motion.
Worship in Motion.
And then Jomobi.
Jomobi.
Yes, who is a daughter
at
Caris. Yes,
So they are all going to be there.
Yes.
And it's free?
Free.
Wow.
Free.
You put Joe Metal together, Worship in Motion, Jomobi, yourself, and it's free.
Absolutely.
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
University of Ghana, Central Cafeteria. We've got to be there. Rev, I thank you very much. And I wish you all the best. Your shirt is very nice.
I'm learning from you.
Oh, please. And that's Reverend Josh Lai there. Quick conversation, excited as always. And we do miss him. I said the album is coming, so look forward to it. But on Saturday, we're meeting at the University of Ghana Central Cafeteria. It's 10 a.m. sharp, the Charis movement. Let's transform ourselves and shift paradigm. It's important. I'll see you after the break. Welcome back and thank you. Let's say happy birthday to Christopher Soa here at TV3. Daniel Kofi Amoatin Senior, good morning and happy new happy birthday to you. Akofa Ejeni, the actress of Fali's Restaurant, is your birthday today. We love you. Happy birthday. Mrs. Agnes Okain Kukwa, happy birthday. Ama Nyako Echampong of Maker's House Chapel. This from Yaira and Ku. It's your birthday as well. Now this Saturday, music is happening live at TV3 Studio B. It's absolutely free from 8 to 10, but you need to be seated by 7 p.m. And guess what? If you come in and you get free cocktails, plus you get a chance to chill out and get rewarded for looking sharp and for being very exciting throughout the night. Music is big. And this Saturday as well, Talented Kids, the grand launch of the 10th anniversary, the 10th edition is happening at the West Hills Mall towards the Wager area. And you can't miss it because DJ Switch will be there, Samuelos will be there, Nakel will be there. Talented Kids is free this Saturday and this Sunday, I beg your pardon, and we're free to play. Also this Saturday, we're meeting on the Osu Oxford Street. We're donating blood. TV33 Foundation and the Accra Regional Hospital, Rich Hospital. We're meeting on the Osu Oxford Street, close to the Osu Mall, and we invite all of you to join us from 8 a.m. all through till 5 p.m. thereabout. We need you to help us to save lives. Donate a pint of your blood, and it will go to help all of us. But now, let's talk about the happening thing. We're discovering the next top actor. And I've been joined by Mr. Eddie Sedo, creator of many great talents. He's the man to speak with at Adisa Productions Limited. They've brought you Sadia. He personally has brought you LNG, XOXO, Things We Do for Love, YOLO, and many other things. Mr. Sedo, good to have you one more time.
Good to be back
So,
here.
are we ready for Saturday?
We are ready. Definitely. The numbers have been coming in. It's quite impressive, the people who've registered to take part. So we're looking forward to having 2 good days, Friday and Saturday.
Per the CVs that you have seen, or per the entries that you have seen, are we talking about people who are already in the acting stream or raw talents?
I think we're getting a myriad of all kinds of people, yes. Raw talents, people fresh out of school, wannabes, even people who are substantively still are working in the industry. So, yeah, it promises to be very competitive.
What are we looking forward to on Saturday? Tell me.
Well, on Saturday, they are going to go through drills. That would help us assess them and actually be able to distinguish who the best ones are. So the shortlisted ones move on into Saturday. And that's where we announce our final contestants. Yes.
I see. And where are we having the auditions on Saturday?
TV3 Executive Theatre.
TV3 Executive Theatre. So is it too late to go and pick a form?
No, it's not too late. It's not
too late.
I mean, yes.
To pick a form today?
It's not too late. I'm sure that even on the day, people are going to come up who haven't picked up forms yet, but they are going to get a chance to be auditioned. I mean, it always happens like that.
Are you going to cause a stampede here?
Oh, I don't expect a stampede.
Okay.
I don't expect a stampede, but we're just hoping that it's not going to roll over into another week, or we are going to be able to nail everything down in these couple of days.
Okay. There's somebody who is willing or thinking of coming to participate, but they're scared. They're scared because, Charlie, these audition people, you know.
Oh,
should they be really scared?
What did Zig Ziglar say? You don't have to be great before you start, but you have to start to be great.
Okay.
So participation is key. Just come and participate. You never know what leads from there. I mean, it's a remarkable experience. When you are nobody, you can become somebody. It happens to all of us, doesn't it? So, you know.
Let's talk about the process to enroll.
Right.
Tell me about it. Where do I get the forms from?
So 3news.com. You can download the forms from 3news.com and pay through mobile money, or you can come to TV3, pick a form, fill it out, make your payment, and then, you know, wait for Friday and Saturday to make your mark.
Okay.
Yes. We really want to be impressed because we're looking for quality talent.
Quality talent.
So they have to prepare. They have to be prepared. It's like writing an exam.
Okay.
Come prepared. You know, do your homework on good acting and all that. There are YouTube videos everywhere. So do your homework before you come. It's very necessary. Yeah.
Interesting. You make it sound so easy and so simple.
Well,
is it that really simple?
It's not simple, but you've got to challenge yourself. If you want to be extraordinary, you've got to challenge yourself, yeah.
Okay, interesting there. And Daniel Cruz just sent me this one. It says, expectations from the judges. Who are we looking at, the judges?
So the judges, most likely for Friday, would be myself and Akofa Ejani.
Okay.
Siedu. Yes, and then we'll have some actors come through on Saturday.
Okay.
Yes.
And the auditions are going to last for how many days?
2 days.
2 days, Saturday and Sunday.
No, Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday. So
yes.
Friday the 22nd and Saturday the 23rd.
23rd.
What time are we starting the party?
We're starting at 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Yes.
So I've seen this. I don't live in Accra.
Yeah.
Somebody would then ask, if I come to Accra, would you find me accommodation to audition?
Well, something's got to give. I mean, have you seen the movie The Pursuit of Happiness, Will Smith, when he was looking for a job?
Yeah.
You've got to hustle, man. Okay. So yes, something's got to give.
Something's got to give.
That shouldn't be an excuse. Everybody can manufacture an excuse, but what counts is what you really want out of the experience.
Okay.
So yeah, you've got to challenge yourself.
I see. That's your camera right there, Mr. Sedo. Talk to the people out there, those who want to be stars, the next top actor. That's what we want to call them. We're looking for 10 overly talented people or 10 raw talented people to sharpen and hone to take over the next day. Talk to them. They're watching.
Well, like I said before, we're looking for raw talent. You don't have to be great before you start, but you have to start before you can be great. You know what I'm saying? So believe in yourself, come prepared, be confident, and you can go all the way. You never know. You could be the next big thing in acting.
In wrapping up, I want to know how this would impact on the film industry in Ghana.
Okay.
How would this? We're done with selection, we're done with the auditions, and then what? What will be the impact?
We're coming out with the next big thing on this show. So we are going to shake some ground again in this town. You can chisel that in granite. It's going to happen, yes, because we're bringing a package that comes with a mini-series as well. So these guys who've been shortlisted to be in the competition actually get their first roles in the mini-series, and that's how they're going to be assessed week in, week out. So definitely there's another banger coming their way. We can assure them.
Zeno, always a pleasure to have you here.
Okay,
and so you know, the die is cast on Friday and Saturday. We're meeting here at the TV3 Executive Theatre. We're choosing the next top actor. It could be you. Yes, it could be you. Have you gotten your forms yet? I don't know, but if you go on to 3news.com or walk up straight to TV3, you could grab a form for only 50 Ghana cedis. You get a chance to register, and that could be turning your life around your way. I'll see you tomorrow. On behalf of the rest of the team, be good and know that if you can think it and your heart can believe it, then you can achieve it. Good morning.